If you like our short stories, please like, comment, and subscribe for more. In the shimmering halls of Olympus, where eternal voices echoed and divine beauty was taken for granted, there arose a disquiet, a gentle, unyielding pull against the ageless routines of gods. Hera, queen of Olympus and embodiment of regal might, had grown weary. Surrounded by celestial splendor, she found herself increasingly troubled by the trivial squabbles and endless rivalries that plagued her immortal kin. Though her power was unmatched, it was the quiet murmur of the mortal heart, its passions, vulnerabilities, and imperfection, that stirred something deep within her. On a day painted in hues of gold and rose, as Hera surveyed the heavens, a particular vision gripped her, a glimpse of a humble village on earth, alive with the raw, unedited pulse of human emotion. There she saw a mortal couple, a young woman and a man, entwined not by the pomp of ceremony, but by a genuine tenderness that defied the stern dictates of fate. Their love, tested by hardship and nourished by hope, spoke to Hera in a language more profound than the lofty declarations of the gods. In that moment, the goddess of marriage felt a yearning she had long suppressed, the desire to understand what it truly meant to love and to be loved in return. Determined to immerse herself in this fragile, beautiful reality, Hera resolved to shed the trappings of divinity and walk unseen among mortals. With the subtle grace that only a goddess could command, she wove an enchantment, a transformation that would cloak her immortal essence in the guise of mortal flesh. Thus was born Elena, a woman of striking presence yet simple demeanor, whose eyes held a glimmer of mysteries too deep for common knowing. Eleanor stepped into the mortal realm with trepidation and wonder. The village that welcomed her was one of modest means but abundant spirit, a place where every scar told a story and every smile carried the weight of survival. Here, she found work as a midwife and a confidant, roles that allowed her to witness firsthand the gamut of human emotions, the joy of new beginnings, the sorrow of farewells, and the quiet resilience that bloomed even in the darkest of times. Each day, as Elena moved among the villagers, she absorbed their stories like precious fragments of a vast mosaic. She listened to the laughter of children chasing dreams in dusty streets, and to the whispered confessions of those whose hearts bore silent wounds. In their vulnerability, Eleanor discovered a truth that no divine edict could ever convey, that the beauty of love lay not in perfection, but in its capacity to transform pain into hope. Yet beneath the veneer of peace, tensions simmered. The mortal world was not free from the complexities that had long burdened Olympus. Rivalries, jealousies, and betrayals stirred beneath every kind word. It was during one such storm of human emotion that Elena found herself drawn into the orbit of a family torn apart by discord. A devoted husband, steadfast in his commitment, struggled to mend the fractures of a love marred by suspicion. His wife, with eyes full of hurt yet fierce determination, fought against the dark tide of jealousy that threatened to consume her. Their pain resonated deeply with Elena, echoing the very turmoil she had observed among the gods. In the quiet hours of the night, as Eleanor lay beneath a tapestry of stars, a view no longer taken for granted, the memories of Olympus mingled with the murmurs of mortal dreams. She recalled the pomp of divine feasts and the hollow victories of eternal power. Now, in the soft solitude of human existence, she discovered the sublime poetry of imperfection. Every smile shared, every tear shed, and every whispered secret in the dark carried a weight of meaning that challenged the old order of immortality. And so, with each passing day, Eleanor's heart opened wider to the world she had once observed from afar. She began to understand that true strength was not measured by dominion or command, but by the capacity to love with all one's flaws and fears. The goddess within her stirred, a quiet force melding with the raw emotions of humanity, crafting a new symphony where once there was only divine decree. As the sun dipped below the horizon and the village prepared for the nightly ritual of hope and prayer, Eleanor stood at the crossroads of two worlds. Would she forever be the aloof deity who ruled from Olympus? Or would she embrace this tumultuous, unpredictable life that offered both agony and ecstasy in equal measure? The answer, whispered by the wind and carried in the laughter of the children, was calling her name. In the wake of her transformation, Elena found herself not only a silent observer, but an active participant in the intricate dance of mortal lives. The village, nestled against rolling hills and under the vast, ever-changing sky, became her classroom and her crucible. Here, the pure, unguarded truths of human emotion wove a tapestry more complex than any divine decree. It was during one long, lingering autumn that Elena encountered a family whose pain and passion rivaled the stormy dramas of Olympus. The family was led by Dorian, a devoted husband known for his unwavering loyalty. Dorian's heart, however, bore the deep, raw scars of betrayal. A betrayal wrought not by external forces, but by the poisonous seed of jealousy that had sprouted in the heart of his wife, Lysa. Lysa was a woman of great beauty and spirit, yet her eyes carried a sorrow that belied her enchanting smile. Tormented by the shadows of insecurities, she questioned the authenticity of every word Dorian uttered. As the seasons turned, her suspicions grew into an almost tangible force, threatening to tear apart the fragile bonds of love that held their family together. In quiet moments, as dusk painted the sky in shades of remorse and longing, Lysa would retreat to the edge of the village, where the wind whispered secrets only the broken-hearted could understand. Eleanor, ever watchful and deeply empathetic, was drawn into the family's turbulent saga. She became a confidant, a silent counselor who listened to Lysa's anguished soliloquies and Dorian's steadfast promises. In each conversation, Eleanor felt echoes of the divine discord that once rippled through Olympus. Yet here, the stakes were mortal, and the consequences heartbreakingly real. One evening, as twilight gave way to the silver luminescence of a full moon, Eleanor found Lysa seated on the cold stone steps of a weathered cottage. The woman's eyes, swollen with unshed tears, searched the darkened horizon as if seeking solace from the heavens. Elena approached, her presence as gentle as the night breeze. In that moment, Lysa confided her deepest fear, that the love she shared with Dorian was slipping away, lost in a labyrinth of jealousy and regret. Moved by Lysa's vulnerability, Eleanor shared a parable, a story of a river that, though often obstructed by boulders and fallen trees, found new paths to reach the boundless sea. "Love, like water, is resilient," Eleanor said softly, her voice imbued with both ancient wisdom and tender compassion. "It flows, even when forced to circumvent obstacles, and its true strength lies not in its force, but in its persistence." As the words lingered in the cool night air, Lysa's eyes shone with a spark of hope. Yet, even as she absorbed this lesson, another thread of fate began to weave its way through the fabric of the village. One day, amidst a flurry of gossip and speculation, an unexpected figure arrived, a man whose bearing and presence resonated with an aura of both familiarity and mystery. This stranger, whose name was Aeson, carried the quiet dignity of one who had known both loss and redemption. Rumours soon spread that he was, in truth, a relic of a bygone era, haunted by secrets of love and sacrifice. Aeson's arrival stirred more than mere curiosity. For Dorian, the stranger's compassionate gaze and measured words offered a glimmer of solace in a time of ceaseless conflict. But for Lysa, Aeson represented the mirror of her own hidden desires, a life unburdened by the ceaseless torment of jealousy. Torn between loyalty and the yearning for a love untainted by suspicion, Lysa felt her heart teeter on the brink of an irreversible choice. Caught in this maelstrom of conflicting emotions, Eleanor became a beacon of impartial guidance. In the quiet solitude of her humble dwelling, she pondered the paradox of love, how its purity could be simultaneously the source of life's greatest joys and its most profound sorrows. Her thoughts turned inexorably to her own inner divinity. Though she had renounced her divine form, the spark of her celestial essence still burned within her, quietly illuminating the path to understanding. One fateful afternoon, as a storm gathered on the horizon and dark clouds began to weep over the village, the simmering tensions reached a crescendo. A heated confrontation erupted between Lysa and Dorian in the heart of the communal square, drawing every curious gaze and hushed whisper. Accusations flew like shards of glass, each cutting deeper than the last, while the onlookers felt the weight of impending catastrophe. Eleanor stepped forward, her voice resonant with a calm authority that belied her mortal guise. "This is not the way," she implored, her words carrying the quiet gravity of ancient wisdom. "Love does not wither in the heat of anger, but blossoms in the gentle light of forgiveness." Her intervention, as sudden as it was sincere, momentarily stilled the tempest of passions. For a heartbeat, time itself seemed to hold its breath, and in that suspended moment, the seeds of reconciliation began to take root. As the villagers dispersed, each carrying fragments of that fragile hope, Elena retreated to her solitude. She gazed upward, where the storm now danced with wild abandon against the inky canvas of the sky. In the thunder's rumble, she discerned not destruction, but the clarion call to transformation, a promise that even in the midst of turmoil, love could be reborn anew. In the wake of the storm that had raged over the village and the fragile hope it had left behind, the days that followed were steeped in both introspection and subtle transformation. Eleanor, known in this mortal realm as a beacon of empathy and wisdom, found herself at the nexus of profound change. The tensions that had fractured a family's trust now echoed in the hearts of many, and Elena sensed that the lessons of love were far from complete. The community, once rent by bitter discord, began to tentatively mend its wounds. Dorian, his face etched with regret and determination, embarked on a heartfelt journey to regain the lost trust of his wife, Lysa. Each day he offered small acts of kindness, a hand-carved trinket, a heartfelt apology whispered under the ancient olive tree, that slowly, like droplets carving canyons in stone, started to erode the barriers of jealousy. Lysa, meanwhile, wrestled with the shadows of insecurity that had long clouded her gaze. Her steps grew more resolute, as though each was a silent pledge to reclaim her own dignity and the love that once promised her solace. Amid this quiet resurgence, the enigmatic Aeson continued to wander the village's peripheries, his presence as elusive as the early morning mist. His eyes, a mirror of countless untold stories, often met Lysa's in secret glances that spoke of a past laden with both regret and hope. It was as if Aeson embodied the bittersweet memory of lost love, a love that had been both a blessing and a curse, and his silent companionship stirred something within Lysa that neither bitterness nor loyalty alone could define. For Elena, the interplay of these human dramas served as a mirror to her own internal metamorphosis. Though she had cast aside her divine guise, the remnants of her celestial essence still shimmered beneath the surface of her mortal heart. It was during a quiet evening, as the village gathered by a softly burning fire to share their day's toils and dreams, that Elena sensed a stirring within, a call to reconcile the celestial and the earthly. As the fire crackled and whispered ancient tales of endurance, Elena retired to the modest sanctuary of her home. There, by the light of a single oil lamp, she unfurled a worn parchment, a relic of her former immortal life. On it were inscribed verses that had once been the edicts of Olympus, poems of creation, love, and cosmic balance. In that solitary moment, as she traced the familiar lines with trembling fingers, the weight of eternity and the fragility of human emotion converged. The parchment, a relic of divine order, was a testament to both the inevitability of change and the possibility of renewal. That night, the heavens themselves seemed to lean closer, as if to witness a reunion of two worlds. A fierce storm gathered on the horizon, and the winds carried whispers of destiny. Elena, now fully aware of the power that lay dormant within her, felt a surge of resolve. The mortal realm had taught her that love was not a static decree, but a living, evolving force, a force that demanded vulnerability, courage, and the willingness to be reborn from one's own ashes. The following day, under a sky heavy with portent, the village convened in the central square for an age-old celebration, a festival of rebirth, where the past was honoured and the future embraced. As music and laughter tentatively filled the air, Elena took a bold step toward revealing the truth of her identity. She ascended the ancient stone steps at the centre of the square, where generations had once listened to the words of seers and storytellers. The crowd hushed, their eyes reflecting a mixture of curiosity and reverence. With a voice that carried the cadence of both mortal compassion and divine authority, Elena began to speak. "I have walked among you as a humble soul, learning the language of your hearts and the stories of your lives. In your laughter and your tears, I have found a truth far greater than any decree of Olympus, that love, in its imperfection, is the essence of our existence." Her words, imbued with a luminous sincerity, reverberated through the gathered throng. In that moment, the villagers sensed that something extraordinary was unfolding, a moment where the barrier between the divine and the mortal was dissolving. As Elena's speech deepened, she recounted the journeys of forgiveness and reconciliation she had witnessed, the gentle mending of a fractured marriage, the silent courage of a soul in search of redemption, and the transformative power of hope in the face of despair. She spoke not as a distant deity, but as a kindred spirit, her narrative interwoven with the very fabric of human experience. A hush fell over the crowd when she declared, "I was once a goddess, cloaked in the light of Olympus. Yet in choosing to live among you, I have discovered that true divinity is not measured by the radiance of immortality, but by the capacity to love, to suffer, and to grow together. Today, I offer you not a promise of perfection, but an invitation to embrace your own imperfections, for within them lies the seed of transcendent beauty." A ripple of murmurs spread through the crowd, and for the first time, many saw in Elena not just a mysterious stranger, but the embodiment of a long-forgotten truth, that the divine spark exists within every human heart. Dorian, his eyes glistening with unshed tears, stepped forward to embrace Lysa, reaffirming his commitment to rebuild their love on the foundation of newfound honesty. Aeson, his gaze soft and resolute, offered a respectful nod to Lysa, a silent acknowledgement of her right to choose her own destiny. In that charged moment, the veil between Olympus and the mortal world seemed to lift, and the stars above shone with an intensity that spoke of ancient promises fulfilled. Eleanor's revelation was not a return to divine rule, but a bridge, a connection that invited both mortals and gods to recognize that the truest power lies in empathy, transformation, and the enduring bonds of love. As the festival carried on under the watchful eyes of the cosmos, Eleanor retreated to the quiet solitude of the olive grove. There, beneath the boughs that had witnessed centuries of human endeavour, she allowed herself a moment of reflection. The journey had transformed her, melding the wisdom of the divine with the raw beauty of mortal experience. In that sacred space, she resolved to continue guiding those willing to listen, not as a distant goddess, but as a guardian of hope and a fellow traveller on the winding road of life. In the end, Eleanor's legacy would be written not in the unyielding stone of Olympus, but in the soft, enduring echoes of every heart that dared to love and be loved. The mortal realm, with all its imperfections, had become a canvas upon which the most profound masterpiece, life itself, was painted, stroke by imperfect stroke, with colours both brilliant and raw. And so, beneath the infinite tapestry of stars, as the village slept and the winds carried whispers of eternal truth, Eleanor smiled. For in her choice to walk among mortals, she had not only rediscovered love, but had redefined what it meant to be divine.